cleaning off some old frames. I inherited quite a few frames from another beekeeper. Some of the frames were good to reuse, and that's great. Hopefully means I'll build up those supers with honey this year a bit faster. We've got quite a bit of drawn wax. I'm only using those wax frames with the colonies that I also got from that keeper, so I'm not potentially passing any disease to my other colonies. Some of the frames, the wax was really in a bad shape, damaged by wax moth, or was literally had wax moths crawling around inside it. Put it in deep freeze for quite a long time, taking it out. Some of it's really manky, I'm not going to use again. I know the bees can clear up some of the wax moth damage, but some of these were just too far gone. So I've put together this very simple setup. There's a cheap wallpaper steamer there, about £30. Everything else is existing bits of equipment and bricks, as you can see, that I had lying around. Simple setup. Steam comes in the top here. Drilled out a hole in a bit of wood just to hold the pipe in place, and the frames are in this wooden brood box. On top I've got a crown board. Underneath there's a crown board with just one hole. Inside I filled the box with tin foil. Any wax that melts goes through the hole in the bottom crown board and collects in this cheap little takeaway tray I've got here, which is nearly full up actually. I'll show you that in a minute. Nice and simple. Don't like spending any money on things, particularly when it comes to beekeeping. Very easy to spend money on beekeeping equipment, but this is one of those exceptions. This tray here is just filling up, just about to overflow, so I'm going to quickly change these trays around, hopefully without losing too much wax. There we go. Quick, quick, quick. There we go. It's come out quite well. A lot of rubbish settles on the top, as you can see. New wax is already coming through. Hopefully we can get that on the camera. That's it, starting to form in there. I like this setup because it's nice and simple, and I don't have to get any special equipment for it apart from the steamer, which might come in handy if I ever need to do some re-wallpapering in the house. It's quite a bit of wax. There was actually about 10 frames in there. Yeah, it was in a real state. They say that drawn frames are invaluable. They are, but they're in such a mess they weren't really of much value. So good to melt them down and turn them into wax. Well, the wax continues to accumulate in that new tray, and that full tray cools down. We'll pop in and have a look at some of the other drawn frames that I've inherited that I'll probably use again. These are some of the other frames. I probably had about 10 supers worth of drawn frames in various states of repair. The previous owner had left them probably a bit too long in the garage before I picked them up. For those not familiar with this format, this is the British national format. These dimensions, pretty different to Langstroth. You can see these rather annoying, well, that's an understatement, these very annoying lugs that stick out the side here, a lot larger on the national. I've no idea what bright spark came out with that idea, but it means if you drop them, they're just that much more likely to snap off. Admittedly, this is the only time it's ever happened to me, but I do not see the benefit of having these huge lugs on the side, because actually it's an added expense. It's not just this bit of wood. You have to build up on the side of your boxes, you have to build up the space for the lug to fit. So on Langstroth, you just need that single external wall, fine. But to maintain your 8mm gap between the frame and the box, which otherwise the bees will build in that space, you need to have a massive great ledge on the side of all of your boxes. That's your deeps, your mediums, your shallows. In the UK we call this a a shallow or a super box. It's only used for supering, and so it means that you've got this additional timber on the side of the boxes, which is all just extra material to have to use. Anyhow, I was going to talk to you about the frames. So I got quite a few frames like that that have these really wide sides. I've just not seen these before. I tend to use the more traditional slender sides. There's quite a bit of nectar in that one. I've got a couple of supers worth of frames that do have nectar in them. I mean, this is actually not quite so bad as the ones that I've put in the steamer. So these can be used again. A little bit of discoloration on the outside, but nothing terrible. It's always good to give the bee something to start with. These are wet. They don't have a weight to them like they've got a lot of nectar in them. They're just wet. I was in two minds about this one. Should have put it in the steamer, but might encourage the bees up into the supers to smell a little bit of nectar up there. That's not too bad. You can see it's been used for brood by the previous owner. There's a little bit of wax moth damage. You can see that those white marks that's been left by the wax moth larvae. I mean, this frame has been in the freezer for 3 months, so it should be fine. 24, 48 hours is usually enough to kill all the wax moth larvae. Yeah, again, this is one of these ones with the thick side on the frame. I'm sure someone will tell me what that's called, or I could just look it up. But I'm used to having the thinner frames, which I don't have any here. These are all the thick ones I've put together. So I'll probably find another one somewhere and pop it in there, and hopefully the fact they're a little bit wet still with nectar will, when it comes springtime, encourage the bees up into the supers. There's just a lot less work for them to do. There's a good thick wax base there. Some of them are a bit more drawn because that's used for brood. Should I keep that for honey? That does look a little bit dark. Think about that. These are alright, they're just really messed up. I think the previous owner used like not a blowtorch, but some sort of electric hot air blast on it to take the cappings off, and some of them look like they've been decapped with a sledgehammer. I won't be using that technique. Steamer box still doing its job. There's an example there of a batch I did a couple of weeks ago, and some scrapings on top that I'm probably going to throw in to the box and see if we can get that all melted down into the new box that's here. That's kind of how it comes out. Yeah, not beautiful, but there's quite a bit of air bubbles underneath there before, which wasn't lovely, but good enough for now. Not enough to trade in, so I'll hold on to it all. It will come in useful. I'll use it. I've got a friend who's got a top bar hive he'd like me to put a colony into. I've got some top bars which I'll basically rub down the that central rail with this wax, piece of it anyway, and we'll see how the bees draw that. I've not worked with top bar hives before, so excited to try that out in the spring. Hopefully we'll get someone out on camera for you. We've got about as much as we're going to get from this lot. We'll take a look inside. Switch her off first. This is such a cheap steamer that there's no on and off switch. You literally have to unplug it. That's how you switch it off. Okay, let's see this marvel of engineering in all its glory. Oopsie, left that quarter escape on there. Well, don't like those things anyway. There she blows. Yeah, just a So just to hold it in place, really. That, not much more. I'm wondering if there's actually also a good way to just clean frames, because I mean, look at the heat that's in there. I mean, you have to be careful where you put your hand. It's a great method because you stripped it down. That is just your chrysalises or cocoons, whatever you want to call them, that the brood creators they're growing. I mean, the heat means that even the propolis is off. I was looking around a few weeks ago for a massive metal drum that I could stick a burner under, boil everything up. That's such an expense, and where do you store the thing when you're not using it? I'm not saying this is ready now, this all needs cleaning up, but if I can scrape all these down and get all the gunk off, so you take the wires out, steaming them like this, I mean, it gets hot in there. This could be a good way to sterilise the frames, just a convenient way of sterilising frames rather than running a flipping great cooking pot full of wood, which I can probably only get a few into at a time, even if it is massive. Whereas this, you give them 20 minutes in here, half an hour, bosh, next one in. So might try that. So here's what's left behind. The wax has gone, you're just left with this crud. It's hot, I can't touch that too much, but there it is. Just go in the bin or in the compost. Yeah, I mean, what's nice is look at all that. You know how tough propolis normally is, but look, it just wipes off. I can wipe that off with my finger, it's just that it's hot. And that's basically clean. That's gone back to like wood again. I mean, that was really disgusting before, and it's almost back to being fresh. And it is pine, cedar. I think it's just pine on these frames and cedar on the boxes. Yeah. Great.